and that's okay. I'm just going to go with the Democrat.
He's just going to vote Democrat. So it sounds like he's heavily implying and just outright saying it. Accelerate, vote Democrat. Anyone who's telling people to vote Democrat is politically on the opposite side of me. Period. Nick Fuentes. What do we think about Nick? I didn't follow this story that much, but apparently, someone tell me in the audience if I'm wrong, if any of you follow this. Apparently, there was an American First rally and big, stream, but it was, had a slightly different name, like America Fight First United, something to that effect, and it was very unsuccessful. They were talking about getting, hundreds of thousands of views, and it just bombed. Did I get this right? Anyone can confirm? That's basically, Nick's claim is he had nothing to do with it. It wasn't him, he says. This was just offshoot people. Now, let's start with that section, then there's another section of the story to get to. We're going to be shitting on some people here tonight, so where are the groypers? Come in and yell at me. So, we got that portion of it. Now, my understanding is this. A lot of these people were Fuentes fans and that were holding this rally. Let's assume for the second that Nick's telling the truth, that he had nothing to do with this, right? It was just, it'd be the equivalent of this if, Caleb and Wade Boggs get together and say, hey, we're having a Normal America fundraising stream led by Caleb and Wade Boggs. That stream could be the greatest stream ever, or it could be dog shit. And either way, I could reasonably say, hey, I wasn't really connected to that. I didn't do any of the planning. And so if it was great, I don't get any credit. It was all them. If it was shit, I shouldn't get any blame. It was all them. And that's sort of Nick's argument. And that may absolutely be true. But here's the issue. These people seem like legitimate Fuentes fans. For example, the one guy's name was Vrillium. And I saw clips of Fuentes being like, hey, he's the best. He's great. Right. I'm saying probably true, Bumling. What I have to say about that is as follows. For me, so much of MAGA is Trump, right? Because Trump's this charismatic guy, he's in this unique position, and he sucks all the oxygen out of all of our discourse because you either love him, you hate him, you can't stop talking about him. Now, part of that's because he's fucking the president. But I also think with MAGA that it is more than Trump. Trump certainly, if Trump just comes out tomorrow and is like, hey, I'm retiring, you'll never hear from me again. I bought an island. It's not the Epstein. I bought a different island. You're just never going to hear from me. Fuck you. I'm shutting off the internet and all communication. I'm going with my beautiful wife, and I'm going to watch monkey videos every day. It would certainly be a blow to MAGA. But I feel that MAGA would still be the dominant force in the Republican Party. There'd be definitely a vacuum. That people would be, you'd have Rubio, and you'd have DeSantis, and you'd have J.D. Vance, and maybe Don Jr., and Eric Trump. And you would have these people that were vying to be the new leader. But I feel that those ideas still go. I think that it's a little different with America First. Like him or hate him, with Nick Fuentes, Nick's a charismatic guy. He very much is. And he's another one of those guys that's like, yeah. See, I'm saying the opposite. I don't think America First is overtaking MAGA. I think America First is just Nick Fuentes. And if Nick disappeared overnight, I think they'd take a huge blow. There are some personalities, but I think it's more about those personalities than it is the movement. And I think the sort of America First mentality is far more online than it is representative of real politics, is what I think. I think that my belief on Israel and things of that nature far more aligns with the vast majority of Americans, particularly right-wing Americans, than the American First. Now, I've said it a million times, but I'll repeat. I don't like any foreign influence in our country, or I've liked very little of it. I think Israel has too much influence, but they're just one of many places. I think the European Union has way too much influence. I think Qatar has way too much influence. I think China has way too much influence. I think shitbag people like George Soros has way too much influence. I think Bill Gates has way too much influence. I'd stop giving money to all those motherfuckers, all these countries. You're on your own. And I think that all of those groups, and Israel certainly included, absolutely are pushing for things that benefit them first and foremost. Now, it's not mutually exclusive. Not everything that benefits, let's just take a country that's not controversial, like Spain may be lobbying to get shit that they want the U.S. to do, but that doesn't mean that some of that stuff won't benefit the U.S. It just also benefits Spain. Other times, Spain may lobby for shit that's not going to help the people of the U.S. at all. But Spain doesn't give a shit. They want shit that'll help them. When I see what I think is the biggest threat right now to our country, if I had to say what foreign nation is the biggest threat, I'd say China. I'd say China is our biggest rival. And if there's ever a country to overtake us economically or militaristically, China would be the number one. Are they right now having the most influence in the United States? I don't know. Debatable. But I don't even look at them as the number one concern or priority right now. For me, the number one concern or priority is sort of globalist. Certainly, some Israel people could be included in that, Zionist. But I also think it's so much more than that. And I think, ironically, many of the establishment globalists that I'm talking about fucking hate Israel. So, for example, issues that I see as a preeminent threat right now to be dealt with is the border, illegal immigration. That, to me, is more of a concern than many of these foreign policy issues that we talk about. Or securing elections, or there's a bunch of other things. Just the economy in general, and so many cultural issues here in the United States. But I think that where the America First people differ is that the sole singular focus, or at least 95% of the focus, must be Israel. Hey, see, globalists, see? Gray Slayer here is implying. When we say globalist, clearly we just mean Israel. Just the Zionists. No, that's not what I mean. For example, I think Barack Obama was a globalist. I think Barack Obama did a lot of shit that was antithetical to Israel, like the Iran deal. Now, I know the American First people say, no, the Iran deal was just further. There is no evidence of any policy that could ever be done by a president in the United States that won't further prove that Israel controls us. If a president bombs Israel, it was part of Israel's nefarious plan to get more control. If a president funds the biggest enemies of Israel, it's part of Israel's nefarious plan to get control. I get it. I don't see it that way. And I think the people that have that hyper-focus, when you really get down to brass tacks, you can see all of a sudden what the problems are. So I'm going to play you this. Now, let me say, I don't even know where to watch Nick Fuentes, to be clear, other than clips I see of him on X. And to be fair, I'm open to hearing that this was clipped out of context or anything like that. That is a possibility. But here was Nick from yesterday, I believe.
Dude, my war against Israel is the only thing keeping me going at this point. Immigration, who gives a shit? Country's over. It's over. Have you been outside? Do you ever actually even leave the studio? Do you know what it's like out there? We're already a non-white country. Get a grip. Get real, bro. We already live in Mogadishu. We already live in Islamabad. Have you been outside? LA, Chicago, New York. We live in hell. And that.
This video will be pulled down. You see the point, though? Now we shouldn't even worry. Yeah, see, it's true. Yeah, who cares? Just vote in the lefties. Let's leave 10 million more illegals in. We don't even care. See? Even my own audience. Based. Yes. Yes, leave all the illegals in. It's too late anyways. Leave tens of millions in. Yes, based. It's true, based, they say. Could you think of, if you were one of these people that seek to bring in all these illegal, could you think of a greater ally than that mentality? Could you think that mentality on the right will achieve things if it's embraced? Far greater than all the people that wanted to place white people on the left. All that matters is Israel. Nothing else matters. See? Grace Slayer, where are the deportations, Rob? The president's listening to you and your leader. Deportations don't matter. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. So why even bother with deportations, right? All that matters is Israel. Why even talk about deportations? It's already too late. Just give up. It doesn't matter that we have net negative immigration for the first time since the 60s. Doesn't matter. It's not enough, so give up. Let's just talk about Israel. Just everybody, it's just Israel. That's all that matters. Vote the Democrats in. Accelerate. Bring in the Democrats. Israel's the real problem. Yes, of course, these Democrats will lock you up. They'll fucking put you in solitary confinement. They'll murder you if they disagree with your political views. They'll ban you online. But hey, at least you can go down saying, I raised a strong voice saying I dislike Israel. It's not just self-deportation predictions. The other data would back up that this is largely true. Now I'm open to hearing that the specific numbers may not be true. But for example, job creation's been very slow, and yet we have record number of jobless claims. Why? Suggest that we've had a lot of people leave the country. Okay, though, I think this is there are people that are fed up with the Republican Party. That's fine. That's totally, let's be honest, Republicans suck. So surely then, Nick and people like him are like, we're going to reform the Republican Party from within, because their strategy is help the Democrats win, which will cause a crushing Republican loss, which means Nick Fuentes type people or people that share his mentality will then dominate the Republicans, which, by the way, won't happen. There's a far better chance it would become more neocon and more Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, than it'll become Nick Fuentes. But that's fine. So then one of the things, if you have that mentality, is you would be working from within, pushing primaries, right? People that you've talked about, you'd say, yes, let's help primary, bad people and push for good people. Casey Putsch is someone that Nick's talked about. Let's see what his feelings are in there.
Okay.
Go and grow for 69 cents, $20. Great show. What are your thoughts on Casey Putsch?
I don't think he can win. He seems like an okay guy or whatever, but I'm not in love with everything he's been up to, and I just doesn't look like he has a real chance. I don't even think he's filed to run as a Republican. So what are we even doing there? I don't even think he met the deadline to run as a Republican. So that's a problem. But whatever. He seems like a nice enough guy.
Now, what he further goes on to say is he's like, we shouldn't put our momentum behind people that might not be able to win, because then it'll look bad for us. But how are you ever going to win if you decide that we're not going to put our momentum behind anyone? People with Nick's takes are going to have a real hard time winning. So they see a guy that's like, oh, this largely is a guy we agree with, and we don't like Vivek. So here's a guy we can help put our momentum behind. But he's like, no.
Didn't have a chance at all. And that's okay. I'm just going to go with the Democrat.
Patty 700 cent, $20. Vivek.
Instead of going behind Casey Putsch, instead of trying to help him win the primary, he's just going to vote Democrat. He's going to tell his people to vote Democrat. Or am I making this up as well? That's what it sounds like he's saying. That's what it sounds like he's heavily implying and just outright saying at times. Accelerate, vote Democrat. Then you heard him say, I don't even care about immigration. All I care about at this point's Israel. Anyone who's telling people to vote Democrat is politically on the opposite side of me. Period. By the way, here's Casey Putsch in March talking about Fuentes.
Let's move on. Nick Fuentes. Boy, Nick is interesting. I don't watch Nick regularly because, frankly, I don't watch anybody regularly. I have seen things he's done. I've seen things he's said. Dude brings receipts, period. He's incredibly bright. And he's frankly right about a hell of a lot of things. Brings a lot of fire on himself. We all know why. He despises Vivek. He despises a lot of things going on that I also despise, and is the reason why I'm running to literally save the state of Ohio. His viewers have done super chats talking about me to him. And he's brought that up. But I'll say this. I think he brought up, somebody sent me, that he likes Casey Putsch very much and will be reaching out to him soon. I think I got those words pretty close. He has every ability to get a hold of me. I have never heard from Nick Fuentes or any of his people. I have never spoken to them. So I don't know what that's all about, and I can provide no one any intel. That's really it. Why do I bring this up? Well, frankly, because so many of his viewers are my viewers as well. And for anybody out there in the world that wants to attack me or his viewers, you can go fuck yourself.
Too bad, Nick. It's like, I'll take the Democrat over him. Meanwhile, he's backing James Fishback. Here's Fishback, 4% chance in a recent poll. But the argument's basically, I don't think Putsch could win, so instead of even trying to help him win a primary, I'll just say, nah, I'm good. I'll vote Democrat. So what? So what? Okay? If the argument is Putsch isn't going to win, so we're not going to try to help him, Fishback's not going to win, so why are they trying to help him? I don't understand how anyone thinks that voting Democrat is the answer to this. I don't understand it. Rob, answer me this. If Nick feels the Republicans are not doing what they say they do, why would he keep supporting them? He's taking lower back by threatening with his vote. So are the Democrats doing what they say? What you do is you support people through the primaries, everyone you can, that is actually pushing in the right direction. You don't say, that person's probably not going to be able to win, so I'll support the Democrat. That's what I'll support. What you do is you support the side that's better, and then you work within that to make it even better. Would there even be a chance that someone like Ken Paxton could win in Texas over career John Cornyn if Trump hadn't have won? Explain to me why you'd rather have a Democrat win than Vivek. Go ahead. I'm willing to hear it. I'm well aware of this plan. The plan goes something like this, right? Well, I'll read it. Nick's plan is the Democrat thing is for midterms, put the brakes on Trump, not forever. An America First Republican in 2000. Yeah. So ask yourself, is Nick Fuentes more likely to win the presidency or someone that he respects if Republicans win the midterms or if they lose the midterms? Explain to me how this theory goes. Okay, Democrats crush in the midterms. Nick gets all the American First people to vote Democrat, and somehow that's a big movement. And with or without them, Democrats win the midterms. And now the primaries for Republicans in 2028 is going to be who? Name me the person. Who's it going to be? Now it's not going to be J.D. Vance, or it's not going to be Marco Rubio, or it's not going to be Ron DeSantis. Instead, it's this dark horse America First person. Who is that? Let's hear it. I'm open to hearing it. I've asked the question dozens of times to the people. Let's hear who it is. Who is the candidate that's coming that will have a unique opportunity because Democrats win in 2026? Go ahead. Joe Kent. It's going to be Joe Kent. Do you think Joe Kent has a better chance of winning, or someone like Joe Kent? If Democrats add 2 new states, pack the Supreme Court, Joe Kent has a better chance of winning then? I would think no. If the Democrats come in and they're terrible, it'll give more sympathy to establishment Republican types. Who is the person that said they would rather have a Democrat than Vivek? I'm honestly, why? Vivek's really bad. It's important that foreigners are otherized. James Fishback's mother is from Colombia. So I assume you're instructing Nick Fuentes and crowd not to back him, right? Or is that different for some reason? Why is that selective? Okay, got it. If it's going to be, hey, man, these fucking people will vote Democrat over a Republican whose family were immigrants. Okay, so no Fishback, right? Oh, that's different. That's different. See how this changed? So it is undoubtable that the policies that Vivek pushes, even if you dislike many of them, are going to be way better than a Democrat for what the vast majority of us would think. Doesn't matter. We'd rather have the Democrat that's worse on policy just to put our foot down and say, no foreigners. But Jane Fishback, well, there's a foreigner we could accept because we like his policies more. Okay, I like Vivek's policies more. Yeah, but you can't vote for Vivek because he's a foreigner. Okay, what about Fishback? We like his policy. You see how the goalposts move? I don't. So now we have to put our foot down not in foreigners, but pagan foreigners. I see. Better to take the person that will legalize more abortions in Ohio. That'll show them how many babies need to die before you could say, yeah, totally worth it. How is Joe Kent? Someone explain to me, Democrats win midterms, Democrats lose midterms. What's Joe Kent's path to the presidency? Someone explain that to me. DD, you're making a different argument. You're making an argument that, well, the policies matter, not the foreign nature of it. Vivek's way better on policy than any Democrat that'll run, including abortion, including censoring conservatives online, including mass immigration. You're like, doesn't matter. He wants H-1Bs. I don't like him. Fuck him. We'll take Democrats over him. One guy says it's because he's a foreigner. Okay. Fishback. Well, he's a good foreigner. Yeah, Joe Kent has no path. Who is it? There is no one that's close to being America First that has a path to the presidency. The best chance that they would have would be continued incremental victories within the Republican Party of people that were traditionally outsider like Donald Trump. That's the best path they have. Because as soon as Trump's out, here's what will happen. If the Democrats have like ridiculous, compelling victories, it's not going to be that the Republican Party goes, oh, we just need to put all of our focus on being anti-Israel. That's a loss. That's not going to win the primaries. What's going to win the primaries is either A, someone who's very similar to Trump, like J.D. Vance. B, it's going to be Paul Ryan type people. Mitt Romney. Back to the old George Bush Republican Party. It ain't going to be Groyper Republican Party. Not happening. The only chance you have of getting someone that's like less foreign entanglements is to get further away from giving the party back to George Bush, Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney? Genuine question. When the number one issue is to get our base outs reverse immigration, won't having a guy that thinks we need to depress the voter overall. Sure, it sounds like we should primary him. Nick's plans to vote for the Democrat that further wants to replace us. So option one is vote for a guy who might not win because it depresses the vote because it stands on legal immigration. And so therefore we should back the Democrat who will proudly announce that they'll replace us through both legal and illegal immigration, in addition to a bunch of other terrible shit. How does that make sense? If you don't like Vivek, then you push for someone like Casey Butch, and you would have been doing it for months. Imagine someone who's at least on the map to have a chance to win a major political race in this country, who's actually saying, I like Nick Fuentes. Now, I don't know. I think Fishback may have said that. You're selling out your values by voting for Vivek. He was doing it for months. What did he do? Then he failed miserably. Can we agree with that? If the argument is, no. Nick Fuentes was doing a lot for Casey Butch, then he fucking failed miserably. We can agree with that, right? The Groypers fucking sucked. They didn't move the needle at all. Maybe they overestimate their political influence. Can we agree with that? And so I'm selling out because I would vote for Vivek. Instead, I should vote for a pro-abortion, anti-white, pro-illegal immigrant candidate. That's how I'm not selling out. Got it. The way to not sell out is to vote for the Democrats. Makes sense. The truth is, Nick Fuentes will be this. Nick Fuentes the people that support him are always going to be singularly focused on Israel. And if they don't get 100% what they like, they'll say, fuck it, we'd rather have the people that will bring on our total collapse than people that are making incremental gains. Yes, you can sell out your values. If I vote for Vivek and that's me selling out, and you vote for the Democrat instead, that's you selling out. There is no manner in which that's not you selling out. I don't own my own party. Where's my ownership of the Republican Party? I don't give a shit if Vivek's directly against Christians, so is every Democrat. Vivek against Christians, Democrat against Christians. Vivek wants H-1Bs, Democrats want H-1Bs. Democrats want to kill babies. Democrats want mass illegal immigration. Democrats want more welfare for illegals. Democrats want to censor me online. Why would I prefer them to Vivek? Leningrad, $5 says, so much right-wing discourse is acting like it's all or nothing on every topic. Yeah, vote Democrat because Israel. I don't even care about immigration anymore. It's Israel. It's too late. It's too late with immigration. Bat Fricker, $20 says, directed at chat rats. Act Blue is girl bossing itself out of existence and you're blackpilling. Southern Poverty Laws Center, Act Blue. Comey indicted. Fauci's assistant indicted. Doesn't matter. We didn't yell about Israel enough. So vote Democrat. Crit, $5 says, on social media platforms, if you go to people's accounts, they say, I used to be a Trump guy, but not anymore. They're from Nigeria or South Asia. PSYOP. Did Nick vote for Trump in 2024? That's the opposite of the truth. If you vote regardless, you give up the... Again, if I was a Democrat operative and I was sitting down and they were like, all right, Rob, we're going to pay you like $200,000 a year. In fact, I don't even have to give this hypothetical. Why do you think the Southern Poverty Law Center was paying millions of dollars to keep white supremacist groups afloat? Why were they doing that? What do you think the point of that was? Yep, and you'll vote for the person that not only will spit in your face, but then take a piss in your mouth, and you'll swallow that piss. I'll wipe the spit off my face while you're guzzling piss like, oh, that's gross. Holy fuck. BM Duper, $5 says, be careful, Rob. Latinx Groyper generals might turn out on you. They're oiled up and ready for a rough and wild fight. Here's the thing, right? There's a lot of alignment with me and Groypers. Not the Israel shit. Like, I don't particularly like Israel, but I'm not all in like that. But I think a lot of the concern we have, used to be, I guess, about immigration and shit, I share that and wanting to care about this country first and foremost. But I have to part ways in a serious manner when they're like, therefore vote Democrat. Yeah, man, no. Then you're not my ally. The example I was giving is this. The reason the Southern Poverty Law Center is funneling this isn't because they want white supremacists in the sense they want them to win. It's they want them because they know it's good for the left. If I was to sit down and come up with a plan on how to get dissident right-wingers that were like making all these memes to support Trump and throwing all their support behind Trump, if I had to come up with a strategy, this is exactly what I would come up with if I was a left-winger. Well, just say that no matter what Trump does, unless he directly comes out and disavows Netanyahu and Israel, that he's really the problem. We shouldn't care about any other issue and vote Democrat. That'll show him. That's exactly the plan I would come up with if I was trying to be an operative for the Democrats. We'll just say some shit like, trust us, bro. The more the Democrats win, the more likely it is a Groyper becomes president or someone the Groypers support. So keep voting Democrat till we get that. Not ignoring the severity of the Iran war. Do you think the Democrats are in bed with Netanyahu as well? This is backwards. Let's not fight for our side and our people because Democrats could exploit that. Right, so let's vote for Democrats. You know how we fight for our side? Let's vote for the people that want to throw us all in prison and hate us for our skin color. Vote for them. Ah, there, we did it. That's how we support our people. It's all ass backwards. You see, the way you support conservative causes is by voting in perpetuity the people that hate conservative causes. And if it's all ass backwards, if you don't see, if you disagree, you're ass backwards. Real conservatives vote for the most liberal people possible. The most progressive. That's how you're a real conservative. There you go. Both parties agree on Israel. Okay? So why are we voting Democrat if Israel's the only issue? Because the accelerationism will cause the Republicans to then become anti-Israel. Right. You would have been right there in 2016 saying, don't vote for Trump. It's just the same as Bush Cheney. In fact, am I not wrong? Didn't Nick not vote for Trump in 2024? How'd that work? How is it not accelerationism to say to vote for the Democrats? Zapolba, $5 says Joe Kenton's Michael Avenatti for the Creepers. I honestly don't know much about him. $5 says it appears Nick and the boys don't want to delay their political gratification by acting prudently. Seems low IQ to me. Riot for $5 says no one understands the long game. Politicians read voting trends a lot. Incremental changes towards ideology is drastic long term. Yeah, if they see that people are, the way it would work would be the way, if you really want to change the Republican Party, what you start doing is winning these primaries with America First people. Then the Republican Party's like, oh shit, if you vote Democrat, this is what the Republican Party's, they're going to say, finally, we get rid of that fucking Trump. Let's go back to the Paul Ryan. And the gropers will be like, no, we're backing Joe Kent. And he'll get 2% of the vote. And you're going to end up with either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio or Ron DeSantis or a Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney type figure. That's what you're going to get. And then you're going to be like, we don't like this. So here's what we'll do. Vote Democrat again. The next 4 years, you ain't going to get that guy you want. It's not happening. The only chance you'd ever have of getting a Joe Kent is if Trump wins and then Republicans win and then you push a primary and more people are like, yeah, you know what we didn't like about Trump? You know what we didn't like about Republicans? The Israel portion. Of course, they're better on the other shit. So then you trake it more to that direction. You're still not going to win in 2028 with that. But maybe in 2032 or 2036 you can. It is not going to be a winner to give the power to Democrats. It's not going to happen. And what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? Have you considered that? What if you're wrong and you give power to Democrats and they make D.C. a state and they make Puerto Rico a state and they pack the Supreme Court and they push in a bunch of shit that floods the border with millions upon millions of people and they make laws specifically against white people even more and against Christianity and they increase abortion, then what? And it still doesn't lead to Joe Kent or whoever the fuck you want. Then what do we just say, well, we tried. Oh, well, we're fucked. There's the answer. I don't care. And that is the truth. That's the truth. That, when you get right down to it, that's what Nick Fuentes, they'll lie. They'll say that's not what Nick, that's what Nick said. I didn't give a fuck about immigration anymore. Right. There you have it. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. They don't care. They'd say, good. I hope your kid grows up in a society that hates him, that he has no chance. At least I stood proudly voting Democrat to show people I hated Israel so Democrats could support Israel. At least I did that. That's it. That's what it comes down to. Give us power or fuck you. We'll vote for the people that want to damage you in every way possible. We don't care. Exactly. There you have it. That's why these people will become politically irrelevant. No, I care we're at war with Iran. We've lost 13 people so far. It's fucking horrible. We lose about 22 a month in training exercises in a normal month. Prices have gone up. I don't like the war at all. And I'm not like, fine, I'll vote Democrats so that they can keep doing wars all across the Middle East as well. That'll show them. I don't talk about primaries until 2 days left. I'm not the one saying that we need a radical change of people that hate Israel. I talked about Ken Paxton quite a lot, wanting him to beat John Cornyn. If I was I certainly, before Trump got into office, all the time. I ran for fucking Congress. What'd you motherfuckers do? I help write speeches. I'm helping people at the state level here in Pennsylvania, not just the federal level. What do you motherfuckers do? Israel's all that matters. Fuck, vote Democrat. I was mentioned on Joe Rogan's show. Yeah. I don't understand what okay. Yeah, you're right. They put millions behind Cornyn, and it looks like Cornyn's going to lose, which proves my theory, not yours, which is to beat the establishment Republican Party, it's better to work within it than to just say, oh, okay, we'll vote Democrat. That's true. I haven't talked about Fishback on X, and I've actually talked with James Fishback. Riot. $5 says, Gen Z be like, no changes my whole life. Bro, you're 19. Things started changing while you were still popping to Bieber. Psycher Carrick, $5 says, would you accept this level of Iran war for Trump's term if it meant Democrats were defeated long term? Yes, of course. Absolutely. What's happening in Iran right now is far less damaging to me than the vast majority of the Biden administration. Not to say I like it. Nick got James Fishback 1,000% increase on merch. That's excellent. Why won't he support Casey Butch? John Mitchell, $10 says, Rob, the Republicans are in power right now. Why don't they permanently fix the border? If Democrats win, it will be because the Republicans shitting the bed, not an edgy live streamer. Totally agree. So, and does that mean I should vote Democrat? Most of the time I'm talking not to Nick Fuentes. This is the first time, or to Groypers. In fact, this is the first time I've largely talked about this. The argument I'm trying to make is to get every vote possible for the party I think will be better. That's my attempt. Right now I'm talking to a specific group of people. The people that are right-wing that are saying vote Democrat. I think it's fucking stupid. Now it's possible that we could have elections that are decided by 400 or 500 people. It would be a real shame if it was tipped by people that were like, vote Democrat. Ultimately, the blame's still on Republicans. I get it. I'm not going to sit here and say, if Democrats win, it's all Nick Fuentes' fault. I'm not going to say that. I'm just trying to instruct people as to why I think that mentality's stupid. Leningrad, $5 says, but you understand that people are frustrated because nothing short of threatening to defect gets the attention of the Republican establishment. Yes and no. It's certainly true that that could be an effective tool, and it is something that you should do. But the way you do it is you defect within the primary system. Nick Fuentes did not vote for Trump in 2024. Did he? Someone tell me if I'm wrong. Did Nick vote for Trump in 2024? Okay. So he defected in 2024. Was it effective? Was his defection effective? He abstained. Now he's saying vote Democrat. Explain to me the process of how this works. There is just not enough people that agrees with Nick Fuentes. I know you people are certain that Israel is responsible for all of the world's evils, or at least when it comes to the foreign policy of the United States. Every bad foreign policy decision, it's because of Israel. Even the decisions like sending Iran pallets of cash of billions of dollars that then went to Hezbollah and Hamas to fight Israel was an Israeli decision. That was also pro-Israel. I've been told, okay, Israel, it's the only thing that matters. Okay, got it. I'm sorry, the majority of the country doesn't agree with you.